I think oftentimes we underestimate the power of hosting a crew well. Hosting is really about paying attention to detail and being consistent. So there's a few ways, practically speaking, that we can be great hosts. The first one is always paying attention to how we prepare for crew. The first thing we want to do is make sure that we are praying. There is power in prayer. And that means praying before crew season starts, praying before your crew meets on crew nights, or if it's during the day, just praying in advance for God to move. We always want the presence of God to be hosted in our meeting place before we ever host people, because we know ultimately that we don't make the change in people's hearts and minds, God does. So I actually want to read this verse to you out of 2 Chronicles that says, "If my people would humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land." Ultimately, is that not the goal of crew? That we will be in community and that God would move and heal people, change people from the inside out. And so how will we ever do this without being prayerful people for crews? The second one is confirm details. I know this seems so silly, right? Of course we're going to confirm details during signups. But I'm not talking about the beginning of crew season. I'm talking about even week to week. Sometimes we assume that just because someone is attending crew, they should know, right? That we're meeting at a certain time and to be on time. But we have to remember that people are messy. And if it's not something that's common to them, if they're not used to being responsible and showing up on time to other places, how can we put that on them for crew? And so we have to be consistent in sending out reminders. If you have a location change or anything involving details with your crew, make sure that you're texting them the night before and saying, hey, who's going to come, so that you make sure that you're starting and ending on time. And the third point I want to make is we want to be people's friends. We do not want to approach crew like we're the boss just because we're crew leaders. That is the worst thing we could possibly do, and it's not biblical. If our goal is to be like Jesus, then we have to mimic even the way we approach people and love people. I think of Jesus and the disciples. God never treated the disciples as if he was superior. And although he was, right, he was God himself in the flesh, but in no way, shape, or form did he ever approach someone or give off the impression that he was anything more than their friend, right? He was our friend. He went to the cross for us. So we have to be very careful with how we choose to love people. We have to treat people the way that we want to be treated, right? If you were walking into crew for the very first time, and even if you went to crew before, you would hopefully expect people to treat you in a kind and accepting manner. And so I actually want to read this verse to you out of John 15 that says, "I no longer call you servants, because a servant doesn't know their master's business. Instead, I call you friends. For everything I learned from my Father, I've made known to you." This is what Jesus said to his disciples. He refused to treat them as a servant. And like I said, although he very easily could have, he chose not to. He called them friends. He was transparent with them. Just like he said in this verse, he taught them what the Father had showed him and taught him personally. So how can we expect people, first of all, to want to build a genuine relationship with us if we choose not to be transparent and real and authentic with them? People want to know that they're not the only ones that are messy. They want to know that they can trust you. Why? Because you took that step first to trust them and show them who you are, to treat them the way that you would treat genuinely someone else who you call friend outside of crew. If you had people over, if you had family over, that you were treating them in that same manner. So with that said, obviously hosting isn't just about putting some chips and drinks out, right? It really is about the heart that you approach crew with. And like I said, the consistency that people see with the way that you choose to live your life and love on them.